Hello, hello. Welcome to Sparkle.Sanctuary. Today's video is a WIP in chat. WIP or WIP stands for Work in Progress. I am continuing to work on Rainbow Little Dragons by Sheena Pike. This is a WIP that I've been working on for quite a while. I am right here on the rainbow of the chest of the dragon. So I have the rest of this section and then I have this section down here left. So I'm hoping next weekend I will be completed with this. Fingers crossed. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, let me see. I'd like to ask you how you're doing. Just checking in, making sure everybody's good. I did have some extra drills that when I was in this section, and I ended up putting them over here just because I was lazy and didn't want to put them back in the container. So I didn't get started this morning yet, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get started now. So for this WIP in chat, again, just like my normal ones, I'm just going to kind of talk about the things that happened this week, how things are going, things I've encountered, and just kind of some, hopefully, every once in a while I have some insights, and I'm hoping that I have some for you today. Anyway, this was another fairly good week. It started off last weekend. I know, like, I ended up recording on Sunday because the weekend had just kind of gotten away from me. And so I'll go ahead and go back to Saturday anyway. I said that in my last video, but I just wanted to make sure you all were aware. But Saturday morning, my ex-husband and I had a conversation over text, and it wasn't polite or kind on his end. I don't know. My weekend didn't, like Friday was such a good morning. I found out I got a raise, and then Saturday morning was just kind of rough. And so, those kinds of things can change your entire attitude for the day, right? And so I tried really hard not to let it. I ended up contacting my mom and saying, am I being unreasonable? I just want to make sure that I'm being the type of person that I want to be, and that I'm not just saying no because it's my ex-husband. And she agreed with me that my behavior was completely acceptable and that, it's perfectly fine to set boundaries. And so I wanted to set that, like, just put that reminder out there, like, just because you set down boundaries with somebody and they don't like it doesn't mean that you're the bad person. It doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It doesn't mean that you are in the wrong or that they're in the right. In fact, it means the opposite. Generally, if somebody is unwilling to work within your boundaries that you have set, and they keep pushing issues or being rude because you set boundaries, that's their problem, not your problem. And I just kind of wanted to put that PSA out there for you. I know, like, it was really hard for me in that moment to remember because he was really making me feel guilty. And honestly, like, he's my ex-husband and his problems are not my problems. Do I feel bad for him and his situation? Of course I do, but I also know that he's made some really poor choices that have put him in that situation. And so ultimately what happens to him and his well-being and his livelihood and everything that goes on in his life is not, ultimately, I'm not responsible for that. We're no longer married. We haven't been for a while. I mean, we split in 2015, so it's been nearly 10 years, so there's no reason for me to have to feel bad. And I just wanted to put that reminder out there. Like, sometimes we encounter people and they, argue with us, or they tell us we're wrong, or they make us feel like we've done something wrong. And just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. Okay. So just wanted to put that little, bit of information out there. Hopefully that meets you where you are, and you find some resonance in what I'm saying. And if not, I understand. Maybe you're not in a situation where you're dealing with that kind of issue, but if you are, I hope that helps you where you're at. So I wanted to share that. But the rest of the day, like, I let it go. I stopped responding. I stopped engaging. I completely just distanced myself from him and let him go on his fit, and then moved on. And then the rest of the day ended up being really nice. I had my daughters had a friend over Friday night, and she was with us for a large portion of the day, which is why I wasn't going to record with her here. That's a bit awkward. Having a YouTube channel, I still find really odd to tell people. So, I mean, it's still fairly new. I've only been doing this for 4-ish months, I think. So it's still new, and I definitely didn't want to record with her in my house. It was just, that would have been awkward. but she's a sweet kid, but yeah, it would have been awkward. So yeah, I spent the day kind of just hanging out by myself because they just kind of hung out together. You know, they had their friend over, and that's what they do. And then that was actually my second son's 20th birthday. And so I, had a text conversation with him, told him happy birthday and whatnot. And I didn't get to see him. He told me that he's super busy with school stuff and with his fraternity. And he also, I'm so proud of him. He loves basketball, and he tried out at the college that he is at, there is a women's basketball team, and the women's team, they have people that come in and basically they work out with them so that they can practice with people um, outside of their teammates. And it's super helpful because then they can play as a team against, another team. And so they've hired a bunch of boys or men go in and play against the women's basketball team. And you had to be there through tryouts, and there were things like that. And he made that team. He loves basketball, always has. That's been a big dream of his. And so to be able to see him at least being part of the basketball there at school, it means a lot. And I know it was important to him. And so I completely understand why he couldn't make it to town here for his birthday. But he did say that he was going to be busy for quite a few weeks because of fraternity stuff and whatnot. And so anyway, he told me he'll be available the 1st of November. And so, it's only 10 days late, but it'll be nice to be able to at least take him to dinner and, either offer him money or buy him a gift or whatever. I always ask him, he's such a hard kid because he always hated photos. So I don't have as many photos of him as I do of his siblings. Like I would pull out cameras and he would run and hide and wouldn't let us take those photos. And then also, you can ask him a million times what he wants as gifts and he never really knows. And so buying gifts for him is also incredibly difficult. He almost always just tells me he wants money, which I don't mind giving money periodically. Like I remember, I've been in situations and I remember being a kid, and sometimes it's just more convenient to buy the things that you like. But, as his mom, I want to buy him gifts. And so it's always been a thing. And there's been a few times in his life where he did identify specifically a gift that he wanted. And unfortunately, that was times when his dad and I were together and we were just not financially stable. And I wasn't able to give him those things. But now, now that I'm better and I am really, really good with my money, I take care of the things that I need to take care of. And I set aside money for certain things. And, I specify fund money for myself from, to do things like this hobby. And so I set aside money for those kinds of things. And so I'm really made sure I'm really stable with my finances. And so now I can actually take care of things and give him things that he'd like. Not, obviously within reason. I don't have a ton of money, but, he does like extravagant and big things. And so it's kind of hard because I want to buy him gifts now, and he really just would rather have the cash. But, eventually he'll grow out of that. And one day maybe he'll come back and start saying, okay, Mom, I want socks or whatever, because, as we get older, man, our priorities change in the things that we want and the things we desire, especially as we can see, how much things cost and how much you have to work in order to obtain those more expensive items. Your mind becomes a little bit more clear. My oldest daughter had a job last summer, and it really opened her eyes to how much things cost and how much you make and how hard you have to work in order to make those things. And she's a lot less likely to ask for money. And, when she does, she's always like, it's for a very specific purpose. She doesn't just go around asking for money for, just for whatever. And she tries really hard to be respectful about it, which is amazing. So I think that's one of those things as you grow and you learn and you understand. And while he's older than she is, he's never had a job. And I'm not sure at this moment if he's found one recently. The last I heard, he didn't have one. And so, he's quite busy with school and whatnot. So I don't know. Even though I didn't see him because my birthday had been earlier in the week, my oldest son had said that he didn't have time until the weekend to see me. So he and his girlfriend actually came over because he lives with his girlfriend. They came over for dinner. My boyfriend made a big dinner, and so majority of my family was there. And my boyfriend made a cake for me that's gluten-free, which was very yummy. And so it was really great to see my oldest son. I don't get to see him very often because he doesn't live at home, and so it was really nice to see him and his girlfriend and to be able to have that time to hang out. So I have decided that I'm going to try and do a better job of keeping in contact with them. So I'm very much an alarm person. I think of things at the worst times, like when I'm falling asleep or when I'm at work, or just at things in times when it just isn't feasible to make phone calls or whatever. So I set an alarm for myself today. And this afternoon, I'll just call and check in, see how he's doing, seeing if, when he wants to get together again. And, maybe he'll want to do lunch tomorrow. I don't know. But I'm going to try and do that. And I'll call both my boys. And if they, they answer, great. If they don't answer, then I'll leave them a voice message that just says, I've decided I'm going to make these phone calls, and hopefully one of these days I'll get to talk to you, and I love you and I miss you and I hope you're doing well, because I need them to know. And I know that they're an entire generation of texting, but phone calls are were my generation. And I don't know, there's something about hearing of somebody's voice and being able to hear, that the genuineness behind it, or be able to hear like that, if they answer that my son is okay, that he's doing well. That's what I'm really hoping that they'll answer. But, like I said, they're a generation of texting. And so sometimes they're really weird about answering phone calls. They're actually really horrible about answering phone calls, but I can leave them a message, right? Anyway, so that was really good. Saturday night, I got to see them and hang out, and we, just kind of chatted and caught up and got to hear things going on. And I guess my oldest is working hard at his job. He's done manager positions before. He used to be a manager at a pizza place, and so I think that he has full capability. So I've been encouraging him to apply for more of those kind of positions. But we'll see. We'll see. My twins are 16, and ever since they were born, we've not known whether they were fraternal or identical. And when they were born, the doctor said, we're going to label them fraternal, but there is a possibility that they're identical, and that just the way that, because they weren't in separate sacs, but the placenta was together, and they weren't sure if it was fused together over time or if it was just that way. And so they called them fraternal because they had no evidence that they were identical. So I purchased a couple DNA kits for them. And that night we also had them take these DNA tests and sent those off. So I am hoping that by mid to late December, we will know if they're fraternal or identical. And then, so Sunday I did sing again. We had new people in the band, and that was fun. I got to meet some new people and, enjoy worship with them. They were really nice people. They were really nice people. And so, in between church services, we were kind of all sitting together and chatting, and somebody had said something about age, and I, and told me happy birthday, and they were talking about kids and ages and such. And I was like, yeah, I guess that I look younger than I am. I don't spend any time in the sun because I'm allergic to it. So I try to avoid the sun quite a bit. And I think that, obviously that has a big impact on that. They were very shocked, and we had conversations about it. It was quite humorous. I was so flattered. I mean, like that's the best compliment you can ever get, is that you don't look your age, right? And that's it. Like I just avoid the sun. And when I have to go out in the sun for long periods of time, I make sure that I wear sunscreen. So yeah, wear your sunscreen. Wear your sunscreen. It works. Stay out of the sun, and it can make you look young too. For all you youngins, heed that warning, because even my dermatologist, I'll get to that later, but even she made a comment about my skin. I had my daughter's play, and that was really good. And I took my mom, but before I had taken her, I had ordered groceries to be picked up. That morning, I put in a grocery order to be picked up after. So I drop off my mom and boogie over to the grocery store and go pick up my order. And as I'm sitting there, like I literally pull up and it says, your pickup is delayed. And I was like, oh, crud bunnies. So I sat there for probably 15 minutes waiting, and there was a guy in the car next to me, and he was smoking. And smoking is a huge migraine trigger for me, so I couldn't roll my windows down, and so it started getting really hot in my car. And the thing is heat is also a migraine trigger for me. So I got on my phone and just opted to change my grocery order pickup from Sunday to Monday after work. As I'm pulling out of the parking lot, my girls text me and say, "Hey, we're going shopping at Walmart. We'll be back later." And I was like, literally, if you just texted me a few minutes ago or a few moments ago, I could have asked you to pick up my order for me. Anyway, so I went home and it was fine. I just hung out the rest of the evening and just participated in Shay's live. And then that was pretty much it. I think I just kind of spent the rest of the evening relaxing because I knew Monday was a work day. Monday was actually quite a busy day at work. Beyond the normal things that I do with the kids, I also had to figure out, because we had parent-teacher conferences this last week, and I had to figure out all of their schedules. I needed to go in and make sure that I could, go to all of those dates. So I created a spreadsheet for myself and got my date organized and tried to make sure that I could put every kiddo on my timeline that was available. Out of the 25 kids that I wanted to meet with, 2 of them overlapped, and so other people took over. So yeah, I let them schedule those, and then I just put the others on my schedule for later. So the conferences were Thursday and Friday, so put them on my schedule, and then just tried to stay with my normal schedule for Monday and do all the things that I normally do, and just try to keep everything caught up. And I was getting behind a little bit, so I'm required every interaction that I have with the kiddos. I'm supposed to put in some data information just to make sure that I'm keeping track of who I'm working with and what I'm doing. And I hadn't gotten all of Friday's put in, and then Monday was so busy with all that stuff that I didn't get Monday's put in either. And that you'll see that kind of trended through the week. But yeah, it was just a very busy day. Not anything bad, just busy. And being busy actually makes the days go by faster, so that was pretty good. Oh, while I was at work, our printer ran out of toner, and I contacted the front office, and I was like, "Hey, I know you sent out an email recently saying that when the toner's low, that automatically goes out to the tech team, and then they fix it. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware, since you are the one that is in most contact with them about these things." And she was like, "Come down to the office. I might have some toner here." So I went down to the office, and the toner was the wrong one, but it looked exactly the same as the one that I needed. So I couldn't make it fit. And other people were coming into the room, and they were like, "Oh, is that the toner?" I was like, "Yeah, but it doesn't fit." And they were like, "Oh, let me try." So I had a few people try, and it was quite humorous. And we also they used my office space. It's a shared office space with a couple other people, but they used our office space to do vision and hearing screenings because they needed to be closer to our SPED classes, because it was upsetting the kids to have to leave because the building is huge, and to have to leave and walk so far across the building to get these tests, it was upsetting the kids. And so they decided to put it in one spot. But and that threw things a bit off a little bit, because I have groups in that room, and so we just figured other stuff out for groups, and I was able to meet with them out in the hallway and things like that. So but I do the best I can to try to meet with those kids as often as I can. It's just sometimes really hard because I'm not always in charge of what happens in my room. Last year though, I was out in the hallway, so I'm not going to complain. I just try to do the best I can and work around and help where I can. I did watch Kara's live on Monday night. I always join her lives. And so if I never mention it, it's not because I didn't go. It's because that's part of my routine. Monday nights, I join Kara's live as long as she has it. And, yeah, I always enjoy seeing her. I got to meet her at the retreat, and she's very, very sweet. And I just enjoy catching up with people from the retreat. I did get my groceries picked up that night. I came home and forgot, and then had to go back out. But I did remember to get my groceries, which is a good thing, because there are things that I forget sometimes. But I got that taken care of on Monday too. So Monday was quite a busy day. And then Tuesday, I knew the parent-teacher conferences were coming up, and they feed us because we work 12-hour days on those days. And so they feed us all 3 meals, which is, that's really, truly amazing to have free meals the whole day. But I am gluten-free. And so I reached out because one of the meals they did was pizza. And so I reached out and I was like, hey, the company that you're getting this pizza from, they do have a gluten-free option. Would you mind if I pay for a gluten-free pizza? And she was super nice. She didn't make me pay for it, which was really, really great. So, but it was, it's really nice to be included and to feel like you matter. And I think that's the most, like kind anybody has been about this gluten allergy that I have. So it, at work at least, there's so many people that work there. My allergy does not even really matter because it's just hard finding food everybody will eat. So accommodating for allergies it's not an easy task, and beggars can't be choosers, right? But she was so kind and she was like, don't worry about it. We'll pay for it. And I'll just see if anybody else is gluten-free. And so, yeah, that was kind of cool. I did get the kids their awards that we were supposed to do that day. And it was kind of cool because the principal saw me walking with those kiddos and he was like, you're doing the awards again? And I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to help wherever I can. And, there's a lot of times when you work at a school where what you do is not seen. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I do that nobody even knows that I do them. And so it's helpful when they see you do those things. I know most people are really great about advocating for themselves and being like, I did this project and I did this or whatever. That is not me. I usually will keep everything quiet. I don't stand up for myself, and I need to be better about that. But I'm getting better about setting boundaries. But when it comes to sharing my accomplishments, I feel like I was brought up that every accomplishment that you talk about like that is bragging, and I you know I don't want to. I just don't want to be that person, and so I know it's not bragging if you're. It can be. It's just a fine line. It's a fine line, and I struggle with that line, so I just try not to ever go close to it. So yeah, him seeing me was nice because I know they know I'm working hard, and I know they know that. I don't know. It feels good to see it instead of just knowing it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not just rambling there. I did also talk with another teacher, and I've been mostly just working K2, but there are some third graders and some fourth graders that have been seeking me out more and more and more. And so I finally just started talking to people and saying, look, like these kids are reaching out to me. What do you want me to do? And they've agreed that I can, overlap a little bit. And so they're going to have me working more with some of those kiddos, which I think will be helpful because they already know me. And some of them are struggling because, the person who does my job on the other side of the building, he just does things a little bit differently. And I think that, some kids want one thing and he can provide that. And some kids just need a little bit of something different and I provide that. And so it's really great that we're all a team and that we can help each other in those ways. The kids are what matters. And I did, talk with the person who does my job on the other side. And we were talking about how interesting things are anymore. Like it's so hard to get kids to take accountability for themselves. We have, it's lying or it's blame shifting, or, I did this because they did that. And I know that that's a typical thing. Like I know that's a typical kid thing. I feel like it's getting worse, like it's increased. But yeah, let me know if you have thoughts about that, if you have any theories. I'd be curious to hear what other people's thoughts are. And then that evening, watched an episode of Only Murders in the Building. So that left me with, because I've been just like, I'm trying to catch up. I get caught up and then I don't watch for a little bit and then I get caught up and I don't watch for a little bit. So watched an episode which left because it was Tuesday. That means that we didn't watch that episode from that week. We watched it from the week before. Goodness, if I can speak. So just trying to get caught up on that. Oh, and then Wednesday was an 8-hour day. Wednesday, or not 8 hour. Goodness, I can't even talk. It was from 8 to 8. It was a 12-hour day because we were doing parent teacher conferences. So we had school during the day and then parent teacher conferences from 4 to 8. It was a long day, but it was a decent day. And I got to meet some of the families. I had originally 25 kids that I had on my list. And like I said, I was able to be able to schedule conferences with 23 of them, and all of the families that day showed up. I didn't have a lot of them that evening. I think I only had like 5. So I had a lot more for Thursday, but all of them that day showed up, and that was really nice to be able to meet those families, introduce myself, and let them know I'm working with their kiddos and the things that we're working on, and see if they had questions and see if there was anything that they were concerned about that they wanted me to assist with or anything. And most of these families were just grateful that they had additional assistants in their classroom. So that was really cool. And then that coworker on the other side has decided that he really needs to start tracking his data in a different way. He's a little bit older gentleman, and so I am working with him on getting his data tracker set up. And so he came by my office for a little bit that day, and I helped him set up some stuff because we're just like doing a Google sheet and making it easy for him to track this data, find it and track it and put the numbers in and information in. So like I said, it's hard, when you work with people who are older, and technology is just so different now than it was. I know he's been in the teaching business for a very, very long time. And so I'm happy to, just get him on board, because the more data he does and the more data I do, the more likely it is that we'll be able to keep our jobs next year. So it's important to make sure that we're keeping things going, because that's how the school is going to determine our need next year, is how much data we have and whether or not these students are improving with their grades, things like that. So then there was a moment, like our office, like that morning was kind of quiet, and then the day got insanely busy around lunch. And I think kids just knew that parent-teacher conferences were coming and that it was the end of the day and they were going to have a 4-day weekend. And so like everybody started getting riled up, and there were quite a few kids in my office asking for breaks, or they were brought into my office because they needed a break or a variety of reasons. And so I was actually stuck in my office like with these kids. I had multiple kids, sometimes 7, 8, or 9 at a time. That was very unusual, not something that normally happens. In the midst of all of this, the assistant principal had come in and was telling my coworker, the one that shares the office with me, she's the dean of students, and the assistant principal had come in and said, I just wanted to say thank you. Like, you guys are running this place like an oiled machine. Like, I don't have to check up on you. I don't have to do as much. And, to have a little bit more freedom in that and know that you guys are doing your job is amazing. And then she turned to the one who's in my room and said, and I really appreciate that you guys were gone last week, and you were on top of it. You made sure everybody knew what to do. And like, I went to go, work in this, find coverage for this thing that you do. And somebody was already in there taking care of it. And she said that happened a couple times throughout the day. And then I realized that you had it covered. And so I just didn't have to worry about it. And that was amazing. And she actually turned and said, that was not me. That was all her. And she was talking about me. And she said, she was like, well, I don't know how you did all that. And I was like, well, we had the week prior, we had professional development meetings that we had to do. And both of the counselors were in there with me. And so I just talked to them, and I said, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to email you the list of all the things that we do. If you can try and make sure these things are covered, so that the teachers aren't scrabbling and nobody's scrambling to try to get these kids from point A to point B or point, whatever, to help cover these things, that would be fantastic. And they did. They covered most of the things that I had asked them to cover. So that was really awesome, knowing that they helped take care of those things, and that they, but I've shared my schedule, and my schedule has things on it for her as well, for the dean, because when she's not around, I cover those things for her. It was cool that we, got to have that covered. And I was so thankful that she pointed out that I had done that, because, most other people would have smiled and said thanks and then moved on. And, but she always makes sure that credit goes where credit's due, which is not a thing that you find at people anymore, and it's just not. And so I need to do something kind for her, because she's always willing to say, no, she did that, not me. So yeah, that's cool. Also, I'm taking charge more, and I'm not an admin by any means, but I do have things that I before would be like, are you okay if I go do this? And so every time it's always been, I trust you, go ahead and do it. And so this time I just went ahead, that day I started just doing things. So in the afternoon, we had a kiddo that was in a different classroom. And so I just took it upon myself. Instead of asking anybody, I just did it because I had free time, and I made sure it was covered, and made sure she got back to her classroom where she needed to be, because it was a situation where she wouldn't normally have been in there, but we needed her in there for that day. And so I made sure that she got where she needed to be. And And the assistant principal actually saw me do, like, when I came back with her, and she was like, oh, you got her, great job. And so, like, that was 3 times in 1 week being recognized for the work I'm doing. I can't tell you how amazing that was. It really felt very good. I felt very seen. I felt very seen. So that was really cool. And then when 4 o'clock rolled around and we still had, it was like 7 minutes to 4, and we still had kids that weren't picked up from the bus because the bus was running late. And there, out at the bus line, there were several teachers waiting there with kiddos. And we had gotten down far enough that we only had one bus full of kids. And I was just like, if you have a conference at 4 o'clock, just go. I'll stay with the kids. Because the assistant principal was actually outside, like, talking to somebody in the bus lane. And so I just sent all the teachers off, and I was like, oh, I hope I'm not making a bad choice by sending them all away, because if the bus comes really, really late, I'm going to be, I'm going to be the one in charge of all these kids at the end of the day. And, when a bus comes late, the kids get rowdy, and, it can be difficult to rein them all in. So I was very grateful when the bus showed up just a couple minutes later. But yeah, I sent like 4 teachers away to go take care of their stuff, because they're the ones that, like, that's the conference is theirs, and they need to be ready. And it's always nice, like, it stresses me out when I know that I'm running late for something, and that people are counting on me to do something, and I have to meet with families. You want to be professional, right? So I was just glad that I was able to be there to help make sure they got to where they needed to be. So yeah, Thursday because I knew I wasn't going to be, like, in so much of the building, because, like, I have to follow kids. If they leave their classrooms, I have to follow kids, and sometimes I have to run after them because they will try to run to different places or try to run out of the building, and we need to keep them safe. So I wear tennis shoes every day, just because if I didn't, my feet would hurt all the time. And so I got to dress really cute and wear some cute sandals on Thursday, because we weren't going to have any kids there, and we were just doing parent-teacher conferences. And I got lots of compliments on my outfit, and that was fun. But man, at the end of the day, like, I did end up walking way more than I thought I was going to walk, because, like I said, I had several conferences scheduled for that day, and I did have 3, maybe 4 that didn't show up. I think it was 3. So I mean, that's really good for odds for the school that I work at. Like, usually there's a lot of no-shows. People just don't come to those things. And so that was kind of cool to see so many families and introduce myself, and just feel good that day. And I got into the school building, and oh my goodness, one of the teachers came up to me and she was like, hey, just so you know, you need to go in and get your breakfast right away, because I have a feeling they're all going to be taken. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was just going to get a yogurt. And I was like, oh man, there's not very many yogurt. There's not much yogurt. And she was like, no, somebody made you gluten-free muffins. And I can't, there was no words. There's no words to explain how good it felt, because I've been left out when it comes to big group things like this, how good it felt to be included and thought of. And oh my gosh, those muffins were so good. And she was not wrong, because they were pumpkin chocolate chip muffins. Everybody wanted them. So they were very, very, very much eaten before I could go back and get any more. And I wished I had gotten more, because, oh my goodness, they were so yummy. So I'm going to have to find the person that made those and ask for a recipe, because I've not had gluten-free muffins that tasted that good. It was just, yeah. And they weren't just gluten-free, they were dairy-free too. So, I mean, I don't know how she did that. I don't know how she made them taste so good, but they were phenomenal. And then I did also, like, because there was downtime in between, like, I'd have a conference and then I'd have a break, like a 20-minute break, and then we'd have another conference and then I'd have a 20-minute break. So I got to kind of chat with some teachers in between while we waited for families that were late or whatever. So that was kind of nice, getting to know people a little bit more, and spend that time, because, like, I just come in and do my job. I don't normally get to chat with people. And so it was really cool getting to know people, like, taking that time. I felt like, if we have, every year they have, like, this Christmas party, and last year I went and I didn't know anybody and I felt so awkward. And so this year I'll know more people, because oh my goodness, last year's Christmas party was like a month after I started, not even. And yeah, it was so weird, because I hadn't really, like, I was working in a very specific location and I hadn't ventured out and I didn't know anybody. And the people that I did know, most of them didn't come, or the ones that said they were going to be there, you know what I mean, didn't come. And so, yeah, I only knew a couple people. So this year, if they do a party like that again, I'll actually know people, which will make it so that I, feel more comfortable going. Last year, I made my boyfriend go with me because I didn't want to be alone, which I'm sure had to be even more awkward for him. But he's a sweet guy, and so he let me drag him along. And so this year, if he doesn't want to go, I don't have to drag him along. I can, feel comfortable going and just hanging out with people by myself. Yeah, that was cool. Just taking the time to get to know people better. And I think you've got to put yourself out there. Like, you've got to kind of talk to people where you can. I don't have friends really, because of just my past situations with my ex, and it's hard to make friends once you're an adult. After he and I split up, I pretty much lost everybody. And, I don't know. I just, I wasn't willing to continue to have relationships with people who didn't believe me when I told them that things in my relationship with him were not what everybody thought it was. You know what I mean? So I, if you don't know me well enough to know that I wouldn't lie about that kind of thing, then you don't know me and were never really my friend to begin with. So yeah, I ended up, either they chose not to be around. Actually, no, I chose. I made that decision for every single one. Thinking about it, I made that decision for every single. I just walked away from friendships because I just was not going to be called a liar. And I don't know if that made me look like I was a liar or made me look like I was telling the truth, but I needed to stand my ground and be true to who I was. And I was like, if you think that I'm lying about this, then you don't know me. And I just walked away. And a couple of those people have reached out to me since then, telling me they miss me and whatever. And I won't have it. And so I've chosen to kind of live this life without friends. And it's hard to make friends when you're an adult. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you've experienced that, but man, it's hard to make friends when you're an adult, especially because I can be kind of scatterbrained, and I'm a little too open sometimes. I don't have things that are off the table that I'm willing to talk about. I don't have really personal boundaries. And so I feel like other people feel obligated to talk, or, I also am really hard on myself. And I know people have told me in the past that they thought that I would be judgmental of them because I'm so hard on myself. And it's funny because it's quite the opposite. I'm hard on myself and nobody else. And so, yeah, I don't know. And I even my kids have said that they thought I would be hard on them and then something would happen and I wasn't, and it just shocked them. And I'm like, because it's me that I'm hard on, like, I don't know. I have my expectations for myself, and I don't have the same expectations for anybody but me. And I think that's how it should be. And I don't know. Sometimes people can't handle it and I wish I could, like, even when you explain it to people, they still feel what they are going to feel, and what they feel is valid. And I can't take that away, and I don't know how to fix it just because I am who I am. And, the people generally who love you are going to accept you the way you are. And I think people have, as I'm getting older, some more and more people are coming out of the woodwork and telling me like they misunderstood or whatever. But I'm not a person that will go backwards. So just keep looking forward and keep trying to make more friends and find people that like to do diamond art, that would like to, video chat or hang out or whatever. That would be fantastic. But, it's hard to find. It's hard to find sometimes. But I do have a lot of love. I have my kids. I have my boyfriend. Like, I have my family. So I'm not lonely. I just am not, like, I don't have people to just go hang out with randomly. You know what I mean? So I feel like everybody needs somebody that they can just escape and go hang out with. And so if you have that, hold tight to it. Like, be blessed, and hopefully those people are good to you and know you and understand you and won't take that for granted and won't take advantage of it. I hope you don't hear, like, my neighbor is mowing, which is really random. So hopefully you don't hear that. That's next week. The temperatures are going to drop. So I'm hoping that doesn't kill their grass, but hopefully you can't hear that mower going. So then, oh yeah. So some really great things happened that day. My oldest daughter received an email, and she received information from, she only applied to 2 colleges. The 2 that she wants to go to, she just applied to those 2, didn't apply anywhere else, which she's got straight A's. So I knew she was going to make it, but she did get an email from one of them, the one that she's been talking the most about this last week or 2, that she was accepted. And so they're going to be sending out her acceptance letter and things here pretty soon. And so she's super excited, and I'm so proud of her. Like, she's worked really hard in order to, to have that 4.0 plus GPA. She works really, really hard all of the time. And, yeah, I'm really proud of her. Like, it's hard being, being always on, and she somehow does it. And I constantly tell her that she doesn't have to, but she says, but she pushes that, she pushes herself. She wants to do that for her. So that's kind of amazing. That she would have such strides for herself, but yeah, so proud of her, proud of her, proud of her. So now we just need to wait to see if she's, what the other one says, and then she can kind of look at the cost and then make some decisions about where she wants to go. Because I think one of them, I think she doesn't understand how significant the difference is in price when you can live at home versus living in dorms. And as I want her to save money, but I also understand she wants to spread her wings. I mean, I wanted to as well. So, my parents tried to get me to go to the college here in town, and I opted to go to one out of town now, and so I completely understand. You want to be more independent and spread your wings and be who you are and figure out who you are. So it'll be her decision and what she does, and I'm going to support her 100%. I can't support her financially, but I can, she'll get lots of grants and scholarships and things, I'm sure. So most of it, if not all of it, will be paid for. Because she just put in a lot of effort, and that matters. It matters a lot. And then my daughter, one of my other girls, her friend contacted them because they had a couple deaths of people that they knew. And my daughter actually invited that girl to church and started talking to her about, finding solace in faith. And so I was proud of her as well, because it's not an easy topic to put out there. It's kind of controversial, especially right now. But I try to remind her there's a difference between being religious and having faith, and being faith driven and being somebody who loves God, as opposed to, being judgmental or, things like that. I think it's really important that my kids recognize that, it's love is ultimately what the Bible is talking about and what faith is about, and that we need to be loving and caring to other people and encouraging to them and guide them, and be kind. Be kind, because that's what is expected of us. And so anyway, she invited her to church, and she's been talking to her about kindness and love and general acceptance and understanding. And it's been great. And her friend agreed to go to church with her the next time she goes. So that will be kind of awesome. And if she is led to faith through my daughter, great. And if she's led to not go to faith, then but my daughter put herself out there, and she's never done that before. So I'm proud of her. Yeah, definitely proud of her. On yesterday, I had the day off. I got to spend my entire day as much by myself as I wanted to. I got the girls off to school, and then kind of lounged around a little bit. I did a little bit of diamond painting, and then my boyfriend said that he was getting food on this side of town, and so I asked him to stop and get me something too. He brought me some food. We got up on that episode of Only Murders in the Building, so we only have the one that's coming out this Tuesday left, and that's the season finale. If you watch that show, let me know below what you think of the season so far. I think I asked last time, but yeah, let me know what you think, because I'm enjoying it. I think it's quite fun. I love the dynamic between the 3 main characters, and all these extra characters that are being introduced this season are interesting. Yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So yeah, let me know what you think. And then he left, and I never. When I say I like never nap, I never nap. I'm not a nap person. I try to avoid naps at all costs because I tend to get a headache afterwards. And oh my goodness, I pulled after he left, I pulled out my diamond painting and I started watching one of my shows, and I suddenly got very, very sleepy and could not keep my eyes open. So I just sat back and took a nap, and it was way longer of a nap than I intended. It was like an hour and a half long. And then I woke up and I was so groggy and out of it and could not pull myself together. And then my girls got home from school and got their stuff and then left. And so I ended up, like, I didn't even make myself dinner. I don't know. I was like so weirdly thrown off by the nap. And I got up and, got myself another drink and mulled around for a little bit and then sat back down and got back to diamond painting. And I pulled out, I was watching, I think, TikTok or something for a little bit, and there was information about a new Netflix show called Woman of the Hour, and it's that show about Cheryl Bradshaw. She was a contestant on the dating game, and she ended up choosing this guy who ended up being a serial killer, Rodney Alcala. I don't know how you say it. Alcala. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably butchering his name, but Rodney. And just like their overlap of their lives, like they showed some of him, and his murders, and then they showed like her and how she got to where she was. It was not true to real life, like fully. Obviously, it's a dramatization. So there were things that they took out or added in or whatever, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. I was intrigued the entire time, and made me want to go back and like look more into it. But yeah, it was definitely, I thought it was a worth watch. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And then I started, like really thinking about, the fact that I had the entire day to myself. And that's because, my boyfriend had Friday off too, but he had asked to come over, and we did lunch together, but otherwise I didn't, I wanted that alone time. And part of me felt guilty for asking for that alone time. But again, like this is one of those lessons where, like everybody needs to have time to themselves, and everybody needs to have time to decompress and whatever it is. And I just really have needed some me time, and to be able to spend the day doing whatever I wanted, watching what I wanted, listening to what I wanted. It felt really good and peaceful. And so I really appreciated that he was so understanding. And he's at work today, and while I'm doing this, and so I've got to, continue to have some alone time this morning. We did speak while he was on his way to work, but other than that, I've just kind of been hanging out. I did pull out all of my diamond paintings for an upcoming video. I'll do a stash video, which I'm hoping people are understanding. Like I've had this stash, I've been building this stash for a very long time, and over 4.5 years I've had this stash, and we're building on this stash. So hopefully people appreciate and don't judge me for having so many diamond paintings. But obviously people have been watching my channel and they've seen me unbox quite a few here lately, so maybe it won't be a surprise that I have quite a few diamond paintings. And part of it, I think, was during the pandemic I got into it and started buying, and kind of got caught up in that FOMO. And so I have way more of one brand than I do of anything else. And I've obviously been still buying from that company, but I've been trying to buy less. And recently I purchased several, but gonna hopefully go back to like decreasing my buying and not spending, because Thanksgiving is coming up and Christmas, and I'm sure that there's going to be other things that I need my money for, or other new releases that I want. And so I don't know. I just was looking at my stash when I was going through all these, and I was like, oh dang, like literally half of my stash is one company. And so, and I would like to make sure that I'm spending time purchasing from multiple companies. And I do have other diamond paintings from other companies, but because my stash is like that, that means that on my channel, you're going to see me, it'll be like for every every time I do one from one company, I have to do two from that other company. So I don't know, that'll be that way for at least a little while, because I don't want to waste the ones that I have in my stash. And there are several kits that I own that I will never be able to feature on my channel because they're not licensed. And by the way, if you don't know what that means, like, licensed art is art that is, by a specific artist. They give their permission to use that art, and they are compensated financially for that art. And so when you have, it's kind of like copyright music. If you try to feature music on your channel that you don't have permission to use, you can get a copyright strike on it. And if you feature diamond paintings that are somebody else's artwork that have been stolen by a company, they can actually come after your channel for sharing that. And so I have to be careful what I feature and what I show, because they don't want their art stolen. I don't want their art stolen. And unfortunately, I have some diamond paintings still from the very beginning of when I started doing this 4.5 years ago. And when I very first started shopping, as most people do, I bought from companies that weren't reputable and weren't selling licensed diamond paintings. And I think that's why I have so many from one particular company as well. I think that's part of it. Is once I learned about licensing and artists and compensation and all of those things, I shifted gears completely, and I wanted to make sure that I was supporting artists. And so there was only one company there for a little while, for quite a while, that I felt like I could buy from them and know that their art was fit into what I felt like was right purchases for me. And now that has shifted somewhat. And so, and there's a lot more companies that sell legally licensed artwork. And so I've been, building my stash through those and doing better about making sure I'm purchasing from multiple companies. But, you know, those companies often cost more. And so it's kind of hard to make sure that I am doing what I need to do and that I can afford them, because a lot of my diamond paintings I've either received as gifts, or I've used points, or I buy with discounts or whatever. And the bigger companies, a lot of the other companies a lot of the other companies that have that licensed artwork, they're just, to be honest, they're just more expensive, and it's hard because they have smaller teams, and they have smaller, where they source their material makes it so that they have to be more expensive. And I understand, because it's all beautiful. And like I said, I have plenty of artwork from other companies. Obviously, if half my stash is not one company, but yeah. So anyway, I will be showing that video here hopefully this week. If I can get that recorded this weekend, I will show that video this week on Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. And I will still continue to do my ASMR videos as per usual. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're just shorts that I have on my channel. And then I recently also went through and made sure I organized my videos into playlists. So if you like this kind of style of whip and chat, feel free to check out my playlist. It has all the previous ones that I've done in it. And if you like unboxings, I have an unboxing playlist, things like that. So yeah, feel free to check that out. If you have made it this far, bless you, because this is probably going to be a very long whip and chat. And I appreciate your support, really, truly. And so if you are new to my channel, if you're just coming across this video, please, please, please go ahead. And if you made it this far, you're probably going to like it here. Subscribing is just a box. Like, it literally doesn't cost you anything. It just makes it so that I show up more in your feed. So please feel free to click subscribe. And if you like this content, or you feel like you got anything out of it, or I just, maybe even put a smile on your face, whatever it may be, give you some food for thought, just please give it a thumbs up. And, I try to ask for that periodically, because sometimes I have videos that I get a lot of views on, but I don't get a lot of thumbs up, and I don't get any, engagement or whatever. And so I just like to put that reminder out there periodically. Hope you don't mind that. yeah, I'm hoping that you're having a great weekend, or I guess Monday, if this is going to go out Monday. So I hope that you're having a great start to your week, and that, you're just having good things come your way. And yeah, if you, I don't know, this is a very colorful dragon, and we just did a rainbow right here. I'm going to put the last diamond in for this rainbow. So if you want to put a rainbow in the comment, if you made it to the end, there's the end of the last one. I'm turning this off so you can see how that looks. See his little chest here with the rainbow? There's a couple. There we go. I just like to run my hand over it and go back in and then push any drills in that I didn't get completely flat on the canvas. I don't know. I actually enjoy that process. Some people don't, but there you go. So you can see what it looks like with the light off and this cute little rainbow that he has on his chest. But anyway, thanks so much for watching and being here this long. Sorry if I'm a little bit rambly today. I hope to see you Thursday or later this week, and definitely next week. And I'll talk to you next time. Don't forget that wherever you go to take care of your mental health is a Sparkle Sanctuary. As always, mine is diamond painting. So thank you for joining me in my Sparkle Sanctuary. I hope to see you next time. No matter what you do, take care of you. I'll see you then. Bye.